Good evening, Cynthia Harrison here from Rhombus Healing Arts, and it is your Monday Mystic Medicine Musings, and we are going to do a bit of a reading tonight. Not a mystic reading, an actual reading. So when a few more people come on, we'll get into it. But welcome. I see a couple of people coming on. Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. And I'm not speaking very loud, so I'll just turn my volume up. Hopefully you can hear me. So I'm a little bit weary tonight, so we will see where we go. It's not going to be a long one. I've got a bit of a plan. I want to do a reading from a book and go into a self-inquiry and just see where that goes and what some questions might be and go from there. I really just wanted to pop in because I leave on Wednesday. So I'm not sure where I'll be able to come in and actually do readings and whatnot. So I just wanted to pop in and say hello and maybe share something that might be helpful. So if you do have questions, you can pop them in, and if I get to them, I will. But I don't necessarily want to be doing a lot of energy reading because I've been reading all day. And hence I'm conserving my energy a little bit. However, it's what I do, so I can't deny it. I generally just go into reading anyway. So Rebecca has a date. I have a date on Thursday night. Ooh, that's good. And Melinda, hey Melinda, and Deb, and who have we got? Rebecca and Murray. Hey Murray. All right. So, like I said, if there are any questions in particular, look, we can go anywhere, but I want to do this reading in a moment. And it's from I have done it when I open, because what I do is sometimes those that are regulars, I will grab a book off the bookcase and open it, and I will do a reading literally out of the book. And pretty much, well, 10 times out of 10, pretty much, the people that come on are resonating with what was read, and often it can be very obscure. So basically I did that tonight. I grabbed the book. It's called, and I often read out of this, I often pull it like an oracle myself. It's called Tea with the Midnight Muse by Charlotte Sophia McLeod, who was my mentor in intentional creativity for many, many years, and I've basically travelled the world with her, painted in Monet's garden after hours and whatnot. So it was this lady that assisted me to experience some amazing places that are often not for public. So I'm going to read it, and then we'll go into the next part, which is sort of a contemplation, and then maybe we can have a conversation, whoever's still here or comes on. So it's called This Is No Ordinary Day. And it's a cross between a reading and a poem. This is no ordinary day, but then none of them are. I mean, what if you are not who you think you are? What if you are not who you think you are? What if who you are really hasn't even happened yet? What does it feel like to consider that your whole life is in front of you instead of behind. There are places between the places where the true mind and the true heart connect. This is the only place from which to make a choice. Open your closed off places, even if it hurts. Pull off the scabs today. Yeah, right now. Pull them off. There is an upswell inside you. You were given no language for it. It is that which now begins or begs to be said. Do you know what it is? Are you willing to look? To listen? To feel? Or will you stay where you are, gazing out the window of the past, wondering where all the good days have gone? The upswell you feel is the gift in you waiting to be born. Waiting to be born again. Waiting to rush onto the pages of your life and consume every mediocre thing in its path. Do you think it is wise to wait? Wise to count the cost until the opportunities have passed? The upswell won't make logical sense on paper. It won't want you to tell your friends or your family what you're up to. But I tell you this, if I tell you nothing else, follow the upswell of your emotional heart, where it leads you. And yes, of course, it will hurt. It will hurt. But you'll be hurt regardless. Didn't anybody tell you? This is all part of just becoming human. So Deb's saying she resonates with this. Hey, Nicole, and Rebecca's saying, who knows? Rebecca, you know. It's the contemplation. So we're going to go a little bit deeper and then we can have a bit of a conversation. And if you missed part of it, you can go back, because within that there are questions that you can actually contemplate. And they're deep questions. And they're important questions. So the self-inquiry part of it is, what if you aren't who you think you are? So contemplation. What if you aren't who you think you are? Just checking my phone. Okay, I haven't shared this with a lot of people. So if you want to share, you think it's something your friends or networks might like, you can share, but I haven't shared it widely tonight because I haven't. So, what if you weren't who you think you are? Inquiries like this can sometimes be part of that waking up. Sometimes we have to settle into the self with a default setting that might not really be who we really are. So contemplate that. If you've gone into a place, it's your default setting, or what you've been molded into, your beliefs and conditioning patterns, or what people around you expect you to be, or if it is a role that you've played and you're not sure what other role you could possibly play, so you default into this one. But is it who you really are? Or is it an aspect of who you really are? Or is it a role that you're playing for your comfort? So anyway, lots of things to contemplate there. We can be so busy covering up, passing and acting a part that we don't realize we have become something or someone else. Hey David, good morning. So we're just doing a bit of a contemplation, then we can have a chat about it. About who you think you are. So this actually happens all the time. For someone, it may arise as an identity crisis or an identity crisis. So are you open to seeing and knowing and feeling something that you haven't experienced before? This is the choice to explore a new framework that begins with inquiry. It frames, or the frames of possibility may open before your eyes. And this is what we hope that you will see, that who you are is still unfurling, unfolding. Life isn't just happening to you. You are happening to life. So imagine, so here's some quotes for you. So imagine that you can see the golden thread in the shape of a tree. It's etheric and yet tangible. And you see it moving from your heart to your mind. Your mind's actually in the field, but and blossoming out. See the connections of the light moving along the threads. Creating a reciprocity, so a give and take, symbiosis of light. So be interested in the tree of light. So now you've got this tree of light, threads coming from the heart. And look at it as if it is you. And then contemplate. What do you see? And ask yourself a few questions about you, if you choose to. Or if you want to go back to the replay and sit and do this contemplation. So it might not be easy, but consider, what do I really want now? What does my muse want me to know? What does my muse want to show me? So I call the muse the inner guidance system. So what does your muse want to know now? And her voice, so you can have the critic or you can have the muse. So that's how I sort of see the muse. It's not like a higher self type thing. It's an aspect of the self that can inform you in slightly different ways. And she's quite, or he is quite, it's the sort of the wild untamed part of the self, yet can have great support for you, rather than the critic always saying, you know, you're hopeless, or you can't do this, or if you do that, it's going to be scary and you shouldn't do it. So let's turn my phone off. So what does the muse want you to know, and what is calling me now? What is calling me now? So that's the inquiry. There's a few questions in there along the way. So if you're in a place and you just needed something simple to just contemplate on, this might be something new that you could rewind and sit as in meditation, or just in a stillness, and do a self-inquiry. You know? Who are you? And are you in that role, that default role? And if you are, contemplate around that. So I'll leave it at that. So let's look at some of your questions. The artist is awakening again. So yes, the artist is awakening again. Hey Sanjay, and okay. I could really see a golden tree, very deep roots. Oh, cool. Cool, Deb. Hey Lois. All right, so again, that is from Tea with the Midnight Muse by Shiloh Sophia McLeod. And I have a couple of these books because she did a new edition, but signed. I actually received this in Uluru in, or actually Alice Springs up north of Australia. It was brought over to me by my friend Lauren, who picked it up for me from Shiloh. So, all right, what are we doing? So that's about 20 minutes in. I don't particularly want to do scanning as such. Like I said, I've been in energy all day. However, I'm happy to have a discussion about something, and if the scanning happens to want to jump in, then great. But I'm just sort of trying to conserve my energy a little bit. I don't know if you noticed. Just in my sweet spot. But I didn't want to be completely selfish and not show up, so I'm here. So Nicole is saying, I see a goddess with a brush and a scroll in the tree. Cool. So you might want to take a note of that, because if you are an artist, or if you're into creativity, intentional creativity, whatever, she might actually come out. So this particular universal woman is birthing the universe. She's one of my muses. Pretty much all of my paintings are an aspect of the muse that gives me information. So they're a process that allows information to come through the veils in a particular way that feels more safe and controlled if you're not used to just diving in. So creativity can be a great way to gently step in. So never really lived this. Okay. Hey Stephen. Hi Tanya. Tanya's wanting a scan. We'll just see how we go with regards to scanning. I've been scanning all day, that's the thing. The really amazing session, the last one, blew my mind a bit, and hers. I won't go into detail, but yeah, the information that was coming through was to the point where she said I was like a mathematician because I had to do so much decoding. And it is really, it's like, you know, information's coming in, but it's not clear, like as written down. The body's telling me stuff, and it's like getting each piece and making the bigger picture to be able to get to what it's telling me rather than what I think I should be doing. And so that takes, you know, I said to her at the end, I felt like I had just solved a what do you call it, an equation, you know, for something huge, and she agreed. You know, it was pretty interesting trajectory of the maze that we followed in the tracking. It took us to places that I rarely go. So her systems were allowing me to access these places. So it was almost like going into the unknown. But what she was saying was what was coming up were all of the things that she has been experiencing for so many years that were so elusive. You know, they're, you know, like a particular muscle doing a particular thing, but nothing really showing up in Western medicine. And then we test that muscle and it's frozen. It's a frozen muscle in regards to energies. And so clearing that so that the energy can flow through the muscle. Good morning, Shannon and Diane. Oh, Diane, you got on. Great. And Jennifer, welcome, welcome. So I'm just contemplating while I'm watching things come in. So tracking energy is not magic. It's not. It is like a formula, a structured formula. The thing is, if you don't know what the formulas are, then you don't know what you're tracking. So you don't know what the information is, and so it all seems miraculously magical. But it's not. Okay. I can tell you how I do things, and I've rubbed the board off now. I've got the whiteboard here that I write it all up on, but how it all connects. So those of you that have just come on, I did a reading and an inquiry, so you might want to go back and if you're interested in a contemplation on sort of who you are or where you are at the moment and how you're being in the world or could possibly be in the world. It's really about looking at how fear is holding you in place, either through comfort or fear of discomfort. Oh, wow. So Diane's saying her brother's having a kidney transplant today. Send healing love. Yeah, so maybe we can all send him some love, send him some hearts. Send him some hearts. There you go. Lots of hearts for Diane's brother. So it's evening here. So you were saying, are you saying that he had a kidney transplant or he's having it tonight? He's probably had it. Wow, that's huge. And you had a birthday recently too, so happy birthday. And anybody else who's having a birthday? Alrighty, so what did you enjoy your day? Okay, I'm just going to scroll. Is there something that's coming in? So I'm going to go for probably another maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night. Just looking at Rebecca's message again, it makes me chuckle. She has a date on Thursday night. Lucky you. uh, so Deb thinks her new medication is affecting her kidneys. Possibly is. Sending healing his way. Yes, possibly is. I haven't got full details yet. Thank you for wishing us something. Okay. So if you're open to chatting about that, Deb, what's showing up that you feel medications impacting your kidneys? I mean, medication is going to be impacting all your whole system, but whether it's in a negative way or a way that's going to create other symptoms that you don't want is the question, yeah? So that is the question. And but if there's something going on, it may be, it may not be towards the, okay, having back pain, right? Because I was about to say, it may be more about a stress response that is, so the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. So the back adrenal points sit above the kidneys. So if you're having pain around that band, it may be more to do with adrenal fatigue or going into, burnout or something like that. But yeah, so I'm going to scan it because I said I wasn't going to, but I can't help myself. Let me just see something. Yeah, back adrenals need some love. So I'm just asking, do your back adrenals need some love? That's how I talk to them. And they're saying, yes, we need some love. Meaning, oh, you have taken two. Okay, so do your adrenals buzz front and back adrenals because your back ones are out or needing some love? So there you go. I don't even need to teach you anything. So yeah, that stress band at the back, right? Now you know that. So I can't do anything medical, and I can't even talk about that, right? But what I can do is scan the energies and just see what would be helpful in relation to what you've told me. And you know that it seems to be at neurolymphatic reflex points on kidney. Mm. Well, like I said, adrenals sit on top of the kidney. What came to me intuitively, not tracking, before you said that, was the adrenals. However, my knowing tends to go to trauma or stress or shock first, because that's always the core of the issue. And so the rest is almost like so you know that irregular energies come in because of the stress response. So what's triple warmer doing? I can look at that if you like. So the illnesses, or what you're what you're what's it called? What you're diagnosed with is the outcome of what's happening with the energy systems. So that's what I look at. Yeah. Okay. So I would be looking at, yes, your kidney, but let me just see. So if you're okay, I'm just gonna scan some of this stuff real quick, right? Just to give you a bit of a picture, because I know that you can sort this out, but it may be looking at it from a slightly different perspective, like a different view of what you may have been looking at it from, right? So, so let me just see. Just put my blanket down. I'll do it this way. It's quicker. Okay, so kidney meridian on both feet. Kidney 1's frozen on both. So both irregular. So it goes without saying, the back adrenal points are showing they need some love. To me, if there's that amount of stress, kidney's going to be, life force energy is going to be interrupted in some way. So that's simple. Do your flipping of the hand, or if you can use a magnet or selenite, anything like that, get that flowing. I wouldn't be surprised actually if your K27s are, frozen too. Okay, so the whole of your kidney. So you were right in that you are feeling kidneys involved. The whole kidney meridians on both sides, top and bottom, frozen. So really just work them, flipping your hands, or if you can use a magnet. Yeah, most of the time you can do it with your hands. I rarely use tools, but the last couple of days I've had a couple of people who I've had to actually then use the magnet and selenite to get their irregular energies moving. So, so that's sort of more of a chronic, but usually you can move it. So you can even put your selenite, if you've got some, stick them on the points just for a minute or so. Pardon me, but there you go. Just felt it move through. Okay. So see how let me just test. Yeah. Yeah. So they're cleared, but you know that if it's you've got all the other stuff going on, because that's a symptom, not the cause, right? So if there's other stress that's more priority in the body, you will continually get irregularities in some way. It might be a different pattern. So to continue working those, so I'm drawn to your feet. Okay, so I'm just going to say this because I know that you could do this because you've done year 2, right? So I would be doing, I'll check that in a moment. She's asking if it's from her medication. What I'd be doing is, now that we've got the kidney meridian flowing, I would be doing the vortex revival. So just literally start doing clockwise motions, like as if it's under your feet. So when you do it yourself, if you're a woman, it's clockwise, right? Rather than being a practitioner. That makes sense, because it's the opposite then. So if I'm you, I'm doing clockwise with my intention of it being the vortex out under the feet, so that you are then bringing that energy back up to the chest. Now, funnily enough, that medication, isn't it for the heart, did you say? Is that what that, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm just, tachycardia, that's to do with the heart, yeah? So my little head goes, oh, that's interesting, right? Because we've you're not pulling the energy up, like your vital life force energy. So chicken or the egg, it doesn't really matter. We just clear it, right? So, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it for you. Well, you do it with you. And those of you that are watching can do it too, if you like. Hello, Melinda. How are you? And let's see. Hi, Iris. And so we're doing kidney, earthing. So polarity, probably test that. Test your polarity. Yeah, polarity at the head is frozen as well. So doesn't surprise me, kidney struggling, yeah? I was just switched from a different medication. It was making me very sick. It may have been, this is how I look at it. If your energies are off in the way that we're talking, you know, in regards to, so for instance, if there's that amount of stress involved, and then, you know, you're going to be having spleen impacted, not metabolizing, not being able to get what's needed from the medication, and not be able to have it go where it needs to for ultimate effectiveness, right? So really, regardless of what you take, so think about this. So I know you've trained with Donna. So when she was saying, you know, lots of her stories are about when she would eat an apple and end up in a hospital, or eat green beans and end up in hospital because her body couldn't metabolize them. That meant that they were toxins to her. So think of it that way, in that if your body's not able to metabolize the medication, it's not doing what it could be doing for you. So your medication can actually work better or worse depending on what your balance of energy is. And so that's why, like, I never tell people to go off their medication or anything. What I do is I work their energies. We get them more into homeostasis, which means then when they go to see their specialists or doctors or whatever, often they will drop or change their medication because their bodies are able to utilize it in a better way. So they don't need so much, or they don't need that particular type. So so let me come back. I went off on a little tangent there, but I think it was an interesting tangent. So let me just see what this medication is doing. So, so to ask that question, I need to, so I'm just going to word it in, because I don't know how many medications you're on. So so to be specific, I'm going to say the medication. How can I say this? Hang on. So this is showing you, this is modeling how it's important how I ask the question, because I'm going to get the answer to the question that I ask. And if it's not specific enough, I could be asking about another medication that she's on. Or, do you see what I mean? So I've got my last medication was throwing off all meridians except stomach and bladder. So what you could do also, it's probably a bit trickier for others unless you've got a practitioner around, but you know, could do advanced substance testing, which it sounds like you probably have. Like you put the medication on and all the alarm points and see, or balance it to those alarm points so it's not putting the meridians off. It's actually strengthening your system to the medication. So when you take the medication, it's working much better. So I'm assuming that you've done that. I shouldn't assume, but Okay, so what was I doing? I was asking about the medication. So I'm going to ask about the new medication that Deb's on, thinking that there's only one new medication. So just let me know, because if there's more, then I'm going to have to pull it in even further. So it's a new medication for Deb impacting her. I'm just going to say her kidney. Yes. Okay. So yes, it is. My last meds were throwing me off, small intestine. So I'm looking down because my phone's here, so sorry about that. Doesn't look like I'm looking at you. Okay. Do you have somebody that you could, or could you do it yourself? Test that. Yes, just one new one, plus allergy med. Okay, so the medication for the heart. Yeah, no, it's still the same answer. So it is. So what I would suggest is to balance that medication against the alarm points. Now that will mean probably not a lot to other people, but I'm making it, shorter because Deb's a practitioner, so she understands what I'm saying, and I can't do all of that here tonight. So I'm just sort of, I suppose demonstrating to you, but assisting her in navigating that. Because we don't want to go off medication if the doctors have prescribed it. What we want to do is maybe talk to the doctor about the side effects and see what their suggestions are, and in the meantime balance that medication against whatever alarm points it's throwing off. So I think you said the other one, that was your last medication, was bladder and small intestine. So so just take it, and you use your, well, you probably couldn't use your small intestine muscle, but I mean, however you best self-test. I use small intestine muscle to test myself often, or I think it is just right kidney. The thing is that your kidney meridians were frozen, both of them, 27 and 1. So I'm wondering whether they'll be different now, because you may have already had frozen energies and swapped medication, and it wasn't able to, your energies weren't functioning to be able to, well enough to be able to utilize the medication in the way that it could, right? So to make your medication more effective, now that we've worked the kidney, and spoon your feet too, and also because your polarity at the head was it frozen? It was out. I can't remember what way it was out, but it was out. I think it was frozen. Polarity at the feet was okay, or earthing at the feet was okay, but the polarity of the kidney energy, the kidney meridian, was frozen on both. So that's different again, and I wouldn't be surprised, actually. I'm going to test, because if something comes to me, it's usually, yep, see? So that's how my intuition works. So your stomach meridian on the toes is frozen as well. So do that. Do the same thing. So I'm actually going to test them all because, yeah. So you know that bladder 66 is an earther as well, and that's frozen too. So test it yourself, just to double check. But what I'm feeling and what I felt at the beginning was around your back, straight away, the stress response, right? Adrenals. So I'm just going to test a bunch of things now, if you don't mind. Okay. And then I'm going to, okay. You don't have to tell me in public, but just if you can, if you want to, but contemplate this. Is your triple warmer often under energized? because that's sort of what it feels like to me. And I would suggest trying to using triple warmer strengthening points and strengthen and just see how that feels, because I've just tested it, but I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just suggesting. And I would be strengthening triple warmer using the points on the feet, like what are they? Gallbladder 41, I think, and triple warmer, whatever number that is. Anyway, you'll have the charts. Do that and see how it feels. And if you feel relaxed and you just get that, then right? Sometimes it might make you feel a little bit like you can feel things moving, but that's okay too. But if it makes you feel sick, stop and do the sedating. However, what the patterning's showing me just in that little basic bit is the stress response has been on for a while, and the cortisol's not showing up, which is unusual. But maybe you do. Do you work your cortisol points? And I can't get you to. You know how to test for? I can't do it with my hand. I haven't got enough hands, but to test for when you've got low cortisol. I'm suspect about that. So I'm not going to say it is. I'm suspect about that. I'm testing them just generally, and they're testing strong. But my intuition is saying there's something else going on there that I'm intrigued about. I'm curious about, and when I'm curious, that's where we go down the rabbit hole, because I start to, we start to unravel things that we may not have thought to look at before. So, okay, I'm feeling some stuff now. So what I'm going to, to wrap that into a neat ball, if possible, is all the grounding stuff, or the earthing. We call it earthing, right? Now there's a bladder. Oh, what number is it? 61. Bladder 61. So imagine that you're Dorothy and you've got your ruby red slippers on, and you're going to click your heels together. And where you're clicking your heels together is the bladder 61 point. And it's a point that assists us to earth in a way that will blow your mind, right? So she's saying, I've not tested cortisol. Okay. There's something going on there, and I can't quite pick it. But let me see, adrenals, front. Yeah, adrenal, front and back adrenals are showing. Cortisol's not. So it could be fine. It seems like it's fine. There's something else going on. So what I'm giving you is clicking your heels. I know it sounds bizarre, but just pretend that they're your feet. And when you put your heels together like that, there's a point on the inside of the heels. And you don't have to get it exactly, but when you do that, it assists in our earthing in a way that it's difficult to describe, but we're always looking at positive, negative, and neutral charge. Okay, and that's one of the ways, because as I said, then it goes down to the pinky toe, the baby toe, which there's an earthing rod that comes off the baby toe. There's a secondary one that comes off the second toe, which is the stomach. Stomach is an earth element. That's why it's an earther as well. But then we got on the bottom of the foot. So we've got our baby toe earthiness, we've got our second toe earthiness, and we've got our kidney 1 point. When it's flowing, when it's not frozen, it's sucking in and it's pushing out. If they're frozen, you will be struggling a little more through life, right? Because you'll be fatigued, you'll have inflammation, you'll have, probably even have moments of giddiness or dizziness, or you're unearthed. I know. I have wonderful gems of information. I'm glad that I could share one with you, Deb. Yeah, there's more advanced stuff that I don't generally share publicly like this, because people won't know what I'm talking about. However, when it's in context, and if people are listening to me, navigate some of your systems, then it will make more sense. So just looking at your earthing and how you're earthed, right? If you're not earthed, and you aren't, pretty much all of the, which is okay, because we can really simply fix it, and you can do it yourself, right? But we've already done most of it. But if that's going out every day, you've got to be on it every day. So, even like just every now and then, I'll click my heels together. In fact, one of my trainings, I'm a kinesiologist as well, and in Australia we do what's called a pause lock. I don't do that. I don't practice that anymore, but it's something that I did for years, where we would click our heels together, and it's part of that. One more little tip for that, which is connected. So there's a point called stomach 31. No, stomach 30. So it's almost like, let me just get out of my winter woolies and try and show you. Well, I'm in black, so you can't really see, but you've got your groin, and it's sort of, how would you describe it? How would you describe it? I was going to say where the valves are, but no one else will know what that means. So you've got your hip joint, and come in front of that, and I suppose that's your pubic bone, and you come out to the sides of the pubic bone. That's an easy way to say it, right? This might be interesting for you, Deb, and for some of the others, right? So we've got the penetrating flow, which we've talked about it over time, but I'll give you a little piece of it. Penetrating flow is a radiant circuit which doesn't have polarity. Radiant circuits don't have polarity. They're neutral. They've got a neutral charge, if you want to call it that way. So the meridians have charge. They're either positive or negative, or male, female, or yin yang, right? Radiant circuits don't have a charge. They're the neutrality within. So penetrating flow is one of those. And so about one either side, belly button, but lower. Lower. You know how okay, so if you imagined where your hairline, so it like depends on whether you wax or shave or laser or whatever, but just imagine where your hairline of your lady bits are, where the corners of that would be, okay, round about there. And it doesn't matter, just put your hands there and find it. But that stomach, those stomach points, again, stomach is a secondary grounder, right? It's linked to earth element. So again, linked to earth in that way. So when those points are frozen, there's no flow. So what that means is that how it links with the penetrating flow, which comes from around the back, over the hips to the groin, right? So it intersects that stomach, those stomach lines. So this might not be very entertaining for some of you. So I apologize, but right, and then comes up to the mouth, right? So imagine that those of you that know the penetrating flow comes from around the back, over the hips to the front, down to the groin, and then up. Well, where the stomach points are, is stomach 30, I'm pretty sure it's 30. If those stomach points are frozen, it interrupts the penetrating flow, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. And so it's interrupting how things penetrate deeply into us or aren't penetrating enough into us. So, like, there's huge importance of those points. Yeah, and you can anchor and wander. So for those that don't know, you can hold a place on the penetrating flow, for instance. Sorry, got things flying everywhere. So just say you're holding those stomach points. So you can just like give them a flip to get the polarity right. So I didn't test whether yours were frozen or not, but it doesn't matter, just do it. And then you can hold them and literally you can just lay there or sit there. And I'm telling you, if you need this, this goes so deep into your being, right? Because it's, I won't go into why, it's a bit complex. But then when you're anchoring and wandering with the penetrating flow, you could hold one point here. So as a practitioner, the client could hold those points and you hold the Mingmen point, right? But you can't really do that yourself, but you could hold the Mingmen point, which is the opposite side of the belly button, right? So you've got your Mingmen point. Could put your hand on the Mingmen point and one hand on, well, anywhere really. That's what anchoring and wandering sort of is. So anywhere on the penetrating flow, find one of those anchor points. So the Mingmen point is a good one, and find where you're needing that. So the penetrating flow process or protocol, and I've gone through that quite a bit on lives here. So I won't go right into it again, but those of you that are interested, you can go back through the videos and see. They're not very well labelled, but there might be something that has penetrating flow in it. What I found is that for trauma, doing the process of holding aspects of the penetrating flow, and rubbing the Mingmen, pushes the energy, like allows it to come through, because if those stomach points are frozen near the groin, it's not allowing the flow. Anyway, I'll teach about that in more depth. That will be more of an advanced sort of class, but just to give you a heads up on some extra bits that you wouldn't have learned in year 2. You don't even learn in year 3. You don't actually learn in that training, but it is linked to our earthing and vitality. So there's a bunch for you, Deb. I think I answered. Did I answer all your questions? Exercises for colds. So try that stuff, Deb, and let me know how you go. But I would be looking at all the hormone stuff. So, to do with cortisol, adrenals, kidney, spleen. Test the pineal pituitary hypothalamus points, because stress impacts hormones and hormones impact our well-being and all the rest of it. So go through some of that and just see how you go. Okay, I'll leave it there because we're sort of going a bit more advanced and most people won't know what we're talking about. But I appreciate your question and hope that gave you a little bit more to sort of delve into. Okay, hi Adina. Dina, I haven't seen you for ages and ages. Alrighty. And Murray said exercise for colds. All right, so for colds, I got an easy one. It doesn't, it's, you know, if you have got a cold or you need this, it feels pretty yucky, right? So I've got my fingers on the top of my collarbone, right? On the top. So I'm sort of looking straight, sort of sitting sideways. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch the skin. So I'll do it and then you can see, right? So I'm going to turn my head and stretch the skin along the collarbone. Does it sort of make sense? You probably can't see. I'm stretching that way. Okay, I'll do this one too. So you see it's making me red, but like, because I'm pushing. So then I'm going to do this way. Okay. So there's lots of points in there, and you probably even just putting your finger along the collarbone, it'd probably be a bit tender, but that can flush some of the crap, so that you you know, you can flush your system from a cold. There's lots to do with colds really, but any of the stuff that I've ever taught you could do for colds, because you know, it's an immune system. So, but that's one in particular, and thymus, like thumping the thymus. So, because that's where the T cells go, or you know, we can build immunity through this point here. So, thumping your chest, and that's what I taught my granddaughter when she was 2. She would do that. So that's that. I haven't got a cold at the left side of my throat, so I'm constantly choking and gagging. Well, I would stretch. So this is another one. Stretch. So you've got your 2 hands in the middle of the throat and stretch one, like you're doing the opposite sides. Stretch all the way around. And often, if you've got a sore throat, I have a lot of throat issues over the years, because that's my weakness, is my throat, because I was sick when I was little. But if I wake up with a sore throat, I literally stretch and it will go. The other thing that you could do is triple warmer, for me anyway, when I address triple warmer, and I usually do it this way, with some pressure, right? So I'm marking myself, right? You can see the marks. It's not like willy-nilly. It's like with some pressure. And it's the same here. You don't want to hurt yourself, but you're pushing in at the mid-brow area, and then you're pulling across the eyebrows, and then you're pushing up and around the ears. And it's here you're going to cross at the throat and come down to the chest, and do that a couple of times. And that, I won't go right into what that is, but it's to do with the vagus that comes down the side of the throat, which is part of the nervous system, yeah? And the energetics of that triple warmer, which is sort of the energy that governs the endocrine system. So if we are addressing and giving them some fuel in the way, or attention, or love is what I say, I give them a bit of love, they're happy, and they'll stop turning on in ways that are creating symptoms for us. So it feels like it's closing, feeling anxious. So your throat's closing. Feels like my throat's closing. And try that. And especially this one. So this is to basically to reset when your triple warmer is irregular. And I do that one all the time, like numerous times a day, because it literally makes me go. So getting your stress response. So Diane says, my brother has had the kidney transplant. Great. Yeah, I thought he would have had it by now. Wow. That's pretty big. Actually, I think it's worse for the donor, so I've heard, so it's lucky for him in a way. I'm not sure where he got the kidney from, but they're going to be sore. So it's good that he's had that done. So we send him some love. All right, what are we going to do now? I think we might wrap it up. I've been going just over an hour. So let me just see. Okay, Tanya. Yeah, because Tanya asked me a question earlier, but I didn't want to scan then. So I'll grab Tanya's. And Deb, I might have been doing the triple warmer smoothie too much. Yeah, I don't do, look, I was saying to a client today, tongue in cheek, all right? There are some of us that are a little different, the special ones. just is. And our systems work a little differently. And Deb, you might be a special one, and that's okay. And we don't need to do, the triple warmer smoothie and the calming of the triple warmer. We need to do the opposite, okay? So test into that, see how that goes, because I tell you what, my life has changed since I am strengthening triple warmer numerous times a day, every day. Now, I do not recommend that for everybody because not everybody needs it, okay? Not everybody needs it. In fact, majority probably don't. But the test that I did for Deb showed that she needs to strengthen triple warmer, okay? So there are tests that we can do, or you can try it and see how it feels with holding the points. But yeah, I was a triple warmer queen, I was doing my work and all the rest of it, but I was still having difficulties with my adrenals and whatnot. And I was like, hang on, what's going on? Because I didn't need that work. So I needed the opposite. And once I knew that, it was the deepest. I was actually, Deb, you'd know Prune Harris. I was with Prune Harris in England, and she often runs her triple warmer forward before she runs it backwards. So she often strengthens before she calms. And she said the same thing. It's like this deep calm comes in. When you need it, there's nothing like it, right? There's nothing like it. It's like because when you're running on adrenaline and cortisol, you don't know what it is to be calm. So you could sort of be relaxed, but when you get that deep calmness coming in, it's like, oh. And for people that have had a lot of stuff in their life for a long time, often can't get that type of calm, even through like meditation, massage, whatever you can think of that helps you calm, doesn't necessarily work for people that have those patterns in their system. And it just is. So I was actually saying today to somebody, because I don't have any symptoms, I'm not sick, my health is great. However, in my field, in my system, the patterns and the echoes. And I was saying today, it's like my beauty scarification, right? You know how we get tattoos or you know, tribal markings or whatever in my field, in my aura and in my energy systems. There is imprints of my life, and they are not hitting my body anymore, meaning I don't have any symptoms of any of that. However, the patterns of it, and this is just how I see it, the patterns of it is still there. So when I have stress in my world, right, I have, my life's full on, right? I was telling somebody this much about what I'm doing in the next, you know, few weeks, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's just my life, right? But I don't stress about it because I do the energy work. If I do the energy work, then it doesn't hit my physical body because it's in the energy first. Do you get me? Same for you, same for all of you. Your illness is in the systems first, and then it hits the physical, and then we get symptoms. So my field echoes the trauma and holds the memory and whatnot in the field, but I've dealt with it and moved things through. So now there's just almost like how I would say the scar or the remnants of where it used to sit, but that still seems to create a patterning of my response to an everyday stress. I don't know if that made sense or not. Ask me a question about it if it doesn't make sense. Made sense to me, but it might be a bit, you know, I'm assuming that you know energy, but well, I'm not actually. All right, Tanya. How did I get onto that? Can't remember. So, job interview. Yeah, I know it did to you because yeah, Deb's saying it did to me. Yeah, because I'm speaking your language, right? The majority of people here are not speaking that language, but I suppose it gives those of you that may not understand everything what I'm saying, but you could sort of feel into it and see how there's a patterning. There's a distinct patterning of how all this works. And again, I said at the beginning, it's not magic. There's a science to it. There's a language to it, and there's a process to it. And when you know that, it's very simple to find what's going on for somebody. Very simple. Like literally, well, you saw that with Deb. It's like bang, bang, bang. We've got basics of like, and that's really the basics of something that's going on, which we could clear really quickly, but then we would be looking at, okay, what else is going on there that might need supporting. But you know, we can't do a full session right now. But she knows enough to be able to then go, okay, that's interesting. What angle have I been looking at my systems from? Because we tend to do that. We tend to have a particular way of, we might have had a particular pattern for a while, but then it starts to shift, and maybe we can't see it as clearly for ourselves as somebody else might see it. So, okay. Okay, so Tanya. All right. What I'm gonna give you some oldies but goodies, because there's a couple of things that I used to do when I had anxiety, right? So I've got all of these things in my field. I don't have any symptoms anymore, but there are some certain things that I used to do. There's a triple warmer point between ring finger and baby finger, which is called the fear point or the gamut point. So you can put your whole fingers there if you want, but it's sort of about mid-range in between the bones. And I used to put my hand on my leg and tap this, but you can do it on your chest as well, because over the heart can be calming as well. And I basically just tapped it, but there is a formula you can tap for, I think it's 10. as fast as you want. Usually you'll go as fast as your energies are going, and my energies are quite fast, so I tend to be faster than most people. So if you're slower, because it doesn't matter. No one's better. Like you can go, and that might feel divine to you. So go that slow. But if you're a fire element like me and you end up doing it this fast, right, that's fine too. Then leave it for 10 taps, so count to 10, and then do another 10. Now, if you're in the public or at a, and then you can cross over and do the other side. If you're in public or if you're in meetings, so I used to have to go to lots of government meetings and whatnot, and I would do it under the table. I'd have my hands on my lap under the table, and I would either just hold the point, or I'd tap it, or I'd rub it. Right? It's a point in triple warmer that we call it the fear point because it can help with anxiety and things like that. So that's one you could try. Like do it regularly to help you. What else did I used to do? So triple warmer smoothie is what Deb and I were talking about. We don't need that one, but actually I'm going to give you this one. Do the triple warmer Vegas, like do that, because you're going to get a bit of the triple warmer smoothie, which is like that, which calms the nervous system. But you're going to get the Vegas bit that crosses and ends at the chest. And then you could actually go, do your taps. So you could combine them together if you wanted to. There we go. We just made up a new. And then you can do the other side, right? So do it a couple of times. And then tap the other hand. There you go. We should call that the Tanya tap. All right, so try that one. And the other thing that I lived by, and I still do today, if you have any sort of worry or fear about something particular, job interviews are pretty crappy regardless, right? But if you go in without expectation, you want to do a good job, but if you're grasping, you're gonna it's like you're setting yourself up that your life's at risk, right? Because you're grasping, I have to have it. But if you go in with the mindset that it's an experience to learn from, and no matter what happens, it could be a practice run, like treat it as a practice run, and just see how it changes your fight flight. Because if you're going in that fight flight freeze, like your life depends on this, you're going to lose your brain, right? You're not going to be able to think because the blood's going from prefrontal cortex, right? It's leaving that for you to fight, run away. So there's no way you're going to be able to perform in a way that you would like to. You can hold those points, but when you're in the actual interview, it's probably not a good look, right? So you could hold these points to start training the blood to come back to the prefrontal cortex so that it builds a new habit. So when you start going to things that are stressful, you're not losing the blood or, your thinking capacity. If that makes sense. That's not what I was going to tell you. That was a side note. What I was going to tell you was the breathing. So it's the Darth Vader, or the, it's not really the Darth Vader, it's the Ujjayi breath. And you can do this quietly when you're in an interview or when you're driving to the interview or whatnot, but it's a breath that you're catching. I think, Tanya, I think the last time you were on, I taught that one. Just let me know if you remember. But it's like taking a breath and going, or, right? But you can do it through your nose. You're going to make a noise. Do you remember this one? If she remembers. Hey, Michelle. So, Sandra. Hey, Sandra. Okay, so the breath, it sounds like Darth Vader, hence in Eden Energy, or Donna Eden calls it the Darth Vader breath. Yeah, in yoga, there is a Ujjayi breath that sounds sort of similar, but it's done, there's different ways of doing it. So it's like going, sounds like Darth Vader, right? So when no one's around, you can do that. But when people are around, this is how I did it. I did it through my nose. And it's basically the way I breathe now. But this breath is so power-filled that it will take you or bring you, however you want to look at it, back to your center. So through the nose is more like, and you know, that's how you would do it normally. But if you were with people, or if I'm sitting here, you can't really hear me doing that. But I'm generally breathing to some capacity like that. So try that. Breath work, especially that, like, and emptying out, like really doing an emptying out through that Darth Vader, like going, taking a deep breath in, just a normal breath, and then going, and when you think you've got no breath left, go, right, really empty yourself. Okay, try it, let me know. Yeah, okay, so Tanya's saying yes 2 weeks ago. I thought I shared that. Anyway, so there you go, you got it again. But it is something that I do regularly. And when I had anxiety, I had to do that every day. Well, I didn't have to do it, but if I didn't do it, then if I didn't change the way I was breathing and keep myself constantly regulated, then I would have anxiety full on, like, you know, full-fledged anxiety. Okay, so that's my tip. Well, there's 3 tips there. All right, I think we're going to finish up now because I've gone nearly an hour and a half. I said I was only going to do an hour. But thanks for popping in. I hope it was sort of interesting. And just checking. Yes, you can. Any of you can PM me if you need to. I am. I've only got one more day here, and then I'm leaving on a jet plane. Not sure when I'll be home again. Literally. So, you know, if I don't answer straight up, then you know why. While I'm away, I'll see whether I can check in or at least share some of what I'm up to, just depending on how the internet is and that sort of thing. But you can always ask me questions. If they're too in depth, I will just say, make an appointment because, you know, but if they're fairly straightforward and I can just answer, then I'll answer. So if you're not sure, just ask and then I can let you know. But most people it's fairly straightforward. And if it then goes a little bit deeper, I'll say, you know, book in a session because we need to do more scanning and more investigation, and it takes time, right? So what else did I want to say? So yeah, there won't be anything on Thursday because I'll be in transit. I think I'll still be in transit. So I hope that was enjoyable. go back and listen to, so those of you that have just come on, I did a reading at the beginning and it was called No Ordinary Day. And then we did a self-inquiry or contemplation. So there's some questions there that you could use as a meditation or a contemplation, I call them, to look at some questions or inquiries about yourself and where you're at and see what comes in. Pardon me, see what the muse is sharing. And every now and then it's nice to ask those questions, those self-reflective questions about the self. Even if you don't feel like you're getting an answer or you're not quite sure what that answer is. The other tip before I go is around asking questions, really, because this is what I'm trialing. So I have a way of manifesting, so I'll put out what I'm wanting to experience, and literally within the day it's here. So a few weeks ago I wrote 16 things, and so these trips that I'm doing are part of what I asked for. And then I asked, okay, well, if I'm going there, then I need to be supported. And so then I got the host that I was looking for. So, you know, somebody to support, because I don't have the money to do this stuff, right? So we asked the universe, if you want me to do that, then I need to be supported. So I don't ask for money, I ask for support and see how that comes in. And then, so that happened. So accommodation, support, that sort of stuff. And then one of my clients wanted to support and offered to pay a little extra on her session. So I'm very thankful to the universe. But my point is, when you're asking for something, I generally ask for experiences rather than stuff, because I'm here to experience the world rather than have stuff. But if there's something that you want, because when you're wanting something in that way, it can become across as grasping, which is not necessarily a flowy way of receiving what is in your best interest, right? But pulling it down to okay, if you're wanting to experience, for instance, I put out that I've been trying to get my inventions moved ahead and the research done on them and whatnot. And I put out that I wanted to work with a group or collective that would be best for that research. And within days that came in, and that's why I'm going overseas to work with a collective on a project that will blow your mind. It's just mind-boggling. Anyway, I'll fill you in as we go along, but that came in like that. So rather than going me, and it's my ideas and whatnot, I've gone, all right, well, let's put it into how I can collaborate with other people on their things and bring my information, and we all bring our information together to build something more than all of us combined, right, for health and wellness and whatnot. So that's sort of what happens. So bringing your questions or your what you want to experience even further into not with a grasping. So it's tricky to sort of put words to it, really. It's beyond the physical. Okay, so what do you need to do your work in the world? So I'm asking from that point of view. What do I need to do my work in the world? I'm in service. What do I need to be in service? Well, yes, I need to eat. Yes, I need to pay my bills, right? I don't necessarily need to be, have flash things to be able to be in service, but you know, having something new every now and then wouldn't be so bad, but I can do without. So my stuff comes in that is needed for the service. Okay, so when I'm saying money comes in, it's not coming in for me to go on a cruise or to, not that there's anything wrong with that, but, or to buy something like jewelry or whatnot. It's coming in specifically because I've asked it to be able to do that. And so that's why it's coming in so quick, right? There's the ego's out of it. It's like, it's not about me. So if you can get yourself to a place where you can ask for things for you, but do it in a way that's going to be for the good of all, right? So if I'm to have abundance in financial ways, it would be so that I can spend more time with you, or pay my internet bill or my electricity bill or my, do you see what I'm saying? So that money comes in so that I can do the work. Anyway, the universe knows. You can't trick it. Anyway, just practice. My point is practice placing your intention in a slightly different way and feel it. So when I'm writing what I would like to experience, you know, writing. So I'm writing at the moment as well. So I'm writing a chapter in a collective book. So that'll be out in a few months. So I asked for that, and bam, came across, and now, okay, I've got a publisher and everything. Like, whoa, that was huge for me. I talk about like it's nothing, but that's massive. It's so huge to me that I can't even express it. It's like, you think of the biggest thing that you could possibly think of for yourself, and that was that for me. It was what I would call my unreasonable dream. I want to be a writer. I've always wanted to write, but I'm not a writer. Well, now I am. Shazam, now I am, right? So don't underestimate when you're placing your intention. You get your fear out of the way and you go, I am a writer, or I am an artist, or I am whatever you are, right? Whatever you want to be, you already are if you put it in that context and you feel it and you can start to imagine it, right? If you can't vision, just imagine until it's almost like the imaginal self, right? When you see that aspect of yourself doing it and being it, because you be yourself into that future self, right? So how you want to be, you dress and you just show up, right? So I just show up for these Facebook Lives. Everything is about just showing up and doing your work. Showing up and doing your work, whatever that looks like for you, which will be different for everybody. So you show up to job interview, Tanya. You just show up, right? You're saying to the universe, I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm in service, whatever's going to happen will be for my highest good, and you just answer the questions and do what you need to do without the attachment or the fear of, oh, sugar, there's another thing I have to jump through and all the rest of it. Try and let it go, because if you don't get that job, it's practice. It's just practice. You're practicing for the ideal job, and this might be it. But if you go in as a dress rehearsal for the big thing, you never know. Someone might surprise you and say, no, this was the play, and you passed and you're in it and you have the starring role, and here you go, right? So take the pressure off yourself. Take the pressure off yourself. If it's for you, it will be, regardless of how much you stuff it up or how wonderful you are. If it's for you, it will be for you. It's like, somebody said to me the other day, if you're going to die, you're going to die, right? If it's your time to go, your time's up. There's nothing you can do to stop that. If your time's up, your time's up. And I was like, yeah, could think of it like that. So almost like a surrender. Anyway, I'm rambling on now because I'm getting tired. I ramble when I'm tired. So I shall see you. I'll let you know when I'm back on. It might be next week or it might be further down the track. So I shall keep you posted.
So I'm writing at the moment as well. So
okay. All right, so I'll have a look back through if there's any questions, and I've got time to ask because it's getting late, but I'll see what I can do for those that have left other messages, because while I'm talking, I'm not reading through them. All right, love you and leave you. Yeah, let me know how you go with the self-inquiry if you end up going back and going through it. You never know what might pop up. All right. Ciao.